Good day, everyone. My name is Vince Galman, and it is great to be back with you again, making another video in the great outdoors. And we got snow this time, so it's always great to be surrounded by snow. I love snow. So I need to speak more directly to what is happening in the world and the escalation of madness. The escalation of madness that is clear for all who dare to look, because there's still so many people who don't want to look. They're much more interested in Netflix and sitcoms and sports and trips to the pub and if they do look, they look at the left-wing media, which is basically now a full-on propaganda machine. They are taking their orders from the Pentagon. They're taking their orders from the CIA. They're taking their orders from the deep state. They're taking their orders from Big Pharma. So they're fully owned now, the left-wing media. So for those who dare look, they can see the madness escalating. They can see it more clearly, can see it for what it is, which is warmongering, medical tyranny. I could go on and on, but I really don't feel like listing everything. Here's what I want to get to in terms of the heart of the matter of this video, and that is something that I keep hearing is that we must fight. We must fight. And what I want to make clear is that it's not a fight we're meant to win. It's not a fight we are meant to win. And what if that's a good thing? What a crazy thing to say. What a crazy thing to think, that it's not a fight that we're meant to win. And what if that's actually a good thing, that we're not meant to win this fight? We are done with the days of solving problems or trying to solve problems through might. We are done with using acts of doing, using acts of force, using our intellect, using our planning minds, using our rationale, and using very little soul to solve problems. This is the best we've been able to do in times past. It's been the best we've been able to do given the state of consciousness that we were at times past. But we are at an entirely different level of consciousness now. Even compared to 5 years ago, we are a rapidly awakening people. And we are on the cusp of a golden age. We are on the cusp of an age of light. The amount of cosmic energy coming into this planet right now is huge. As I've said to you before, there are an unusually high number of master souls on this planet. There's a high number of starseed light workers. There's a good chance you are one of them. Lots and lots of awakening souls, but they didn't come here to fight darkness. They came here to bring the light. You see, fighting... And by the way, I want to make clear that I'm not against naming the dark agenda. I have done that abundantly. It's very important that we use our critical thinking. It is important that we name the intolerable. It's important that we speak out and say, and call bullshit. What happens is that it's very easy to get lost in our pointing. It's very easy to get lost in the pointing and not point at ourselves. What if the dark forces, the deep state, what if they are acting out at a very large, macrocosmic, dramatic scale? What if they are acting out the tyranny within each of us that is our individual portion of the greater whole? Because we have a censor in us. They censor us, don't they? But what about us? How much do we censor ourselves? How much do we censor children? They want us to fit in and behave. How much time do we spend making ourselves, our imbalanced ego, how much time does it spend making us fit in and behave and make other people like children fit in and behave? Right? They want us to be good and obedient, those dark forces, don't they? Shut up, be good and obedient, wear that mask, which is a symbol of shutting up, being good and obedient. But how much time does our imbalanced ego make us shut up, be good and obedient? And how much time do we impose that on others, like children? They persecute us. They shame us. How much time do we persecute and shame ourselves through old beliefs like we're not worthy, we're not good enough, we don't deserve? You see, whatever you find out there being done by the deep state, the dark forces, is a macrocosm of the microcosm of the patterns within ourselves, our own inner tyranny. We are here to take responsibility for our portion of the collective darkness. We are here to take responsibility for our portion of the collective darkness. We do not transform the tyranny. Without doing so, pointing is bypassing. It's called spiritual bypassing. It's not the best term, but it is the right term. It's spiritual bypassing. It's bypassing our own inner self, our own shadows. This is radical self-responsibility. This is radical self-responsibility, and few people take that responsibility. Few people do the work. See, it's much easier just to act out your anger. It's much easier to blame. It's much easier to shame. You see, we act it out. The pain inside of ourselves that we don't want to look at, well, we can express that pain by pointing at the dark forces, and we need to point at them. Again, I'm not saying don't. I'm not saying don't feel outraged. We have very good reason to be outraged. But it's not enough. There is no transformation of the world, my friends, without a transformation in consciousness, in human consciousness. There's no transformation of the world without a transformation in human consciousness. And so it is upon each of us to do our part to transform. It is upon us to transform. And that is our contribution to the global alchemy that needs to take place, the alchemy of darkness, and transforming that into light through our own inner alchemy. But again, people don't want to do this because it's much safer to be angry in many ways, isn't it? It's much safer. It's less vulnerable. If I point that way, it's less vulnerable. It's more vulnerable if I point this way, here. Do people want to feel vulnerable? No. For so many people pointing at the dark forces, it's a very familiar, comfortable feeling. I get to act out my anger. I get to blame, I get to shame. If you want to know how comfortable this is for people, look carefully at how much time each day people spend gossiping and judging. How much time do people spend each day gossiping and judging? How many people have committed to a path of no judgment and no gossip? Very, very few people do. And so it's comfortable to be a victim. It's comfortable to project our unprocessed stuff through gossip, through judgment, and through pointing at them. But we're done. We're done with this, you see? Continually acting out our trauma, our programming, our pain without taking responsibility is only going to continue the story of suffering. If we went out there and we somehow won that fight and knocked off those despots, well, guess what's going to happen? Another despot is going to come. We know that from history, and often they're more tyrannical. Why is there going to be another despot? Because the consciousness hasn't been changed. The consciousness has to change. The field of consciousness that you are a part of, and you must take responsibility. We all must take responsibility for our part in the collective field. So that means doing your healing work, everyone. That means doing your healing work. That means doing your empowering work. That means spending time alone, reflecting, feeling, wondering. This means taking radical steps to not contribute to the global insanity. This means taking radical steps to not contributing to the abuse. We say they are abusing. We get upset that they're being cruel. Well, here's the question. Where are you participating in acts of abuse? Where are you contributing with acts of madness, of insanity? When you gossip and you judge, when you berate people behind their back, you're contributing to the insanity. You're contributing to the pain consciousness. When you get down on your knees and you play violent video games with your children, that's contributing to violence. Because you know what? Those violent video games, they have an impact on our consciousness. They have an impact on our consciousness. I encourage you to research the work of Dr. Enomoto and his work with water crystals or water molecules, and how he showed how water crystals, water molecules change according to their environment. Different kinds of music, for instance, affects the water molecules. It changes their shape. We are 70% water. Do you not think that violence is going to change our consciousness? It's going to impact us physiologically, psychologically, energetically. People get so upset about the violence and the abuse of the dark forces, and then an hour later, they eat tortured animal products. They eat tortured meat, eggs, dairy. And they're getting angry at the abuses of power, and yet an hour later, they're eating tortured animal products. That has to stop. This is radical responsibility in all areas. This isn't a call out for people to become vegan or vegetarian. I don't believe everyone should become vegan or vegetarian. I believe people ought to know how their food is treated. Eat cruelty-free food. Otherwise, you contribute to the insanity. Doesn't that seem logical? People get so upset with the way they are abusing people, but then they go watch a violent sporting event and they eat a tortured hot dog at the arena. You see, what needs to happen is we need to purify, to awaken to your higher self, to awaken to your Holy Spirit, to embody your soul. You need to purify. We need to go on a path of purity. We need to be pure. And I'm not talking about being the dark side of that, the Christian side, the being a Puritan, being uptight, rigid, bound by, standards of righteousness that are completely unhealthy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being pure of heart, pure of soul, pure in action, pure in thought. This is radical self-responsibility. Take responsibility for your words. Are you gossiping? Take responsibility for the food you're eating. Is it pure food? Watch more pure programming, more pure shows. Don't watch or engage in violence. Don't contribute to the violence. Don't consume violence on any level. Movies, food, Be pure. This is radical responsibility. It begins with you. It's not about fighting. You see, if we fight, we don't have to take responsibility. We don't have to do any of that. I get to keep judging. I get to keep blaming. I get to be a victim. Well, this has to end now. Each person must take responsibility for their portion of the collective darkness, because everybody has their portion. Unless you are a Mahavatar, unless you are a full-on sage, you have your portion. I was talking to Kuan Yin, an ascended master I worked with one time, and I said, what does it take to be an ascended master? And she said, one word, and she said, purity. Purity. That's what happens when we move higher and higher in the angelic realms. When we ascend, we're moving into more refined, more pure states of consciousness. That is one way to understand the journey of souls. The journey of ascension is that we're moving into higher and higher states of purity. But to become more pure, we have to purify. Purify is another word for healing. Purify is another word for clearing, cleaning. It's wholeness. It's a movement towards wholeness, which is related to the word holiness. Wholeness and holiness are related to the word health. Actually, health means whole. If you look at the dark forces, what they're doing is they're moving us towards impurity. They are, they have such a strong agenda around everything that is unsacred. They want to destroy the family. They want to destroy biology. They're increasingly going after Christians because that's their attempt to basically remove people from their spirituality. They're going after people's DNA through the fake vaccine because that's their way of destroying our carbon-based DNA, synthesize and making it synthetic, modifying it, because that's where our holy higher self anchors, is in our DNA. If they destroy that, then it makes it harder for the light to come in. They're going after what's holy and true. They want to make food increasingly artificial, increasingly fake. I had more examples, but I forgot what they are. But if you pay close attention, their agenda is towards artificial. Of course it is. Artificial. Artificial intelligence is the opposite of sentient intelligence. Your higher self is sentient intelligence. And it's destined to anchor in your DNA. It's called light code activation, DNA activation. It's where your higher self comes in. But for your higher self to anchor in your DNA, for your higher self to come into your body and increasingly run your human awareness, you must purify. You must purify yourself. You must create quantum space in your DNA for your higher self to come in. You must clear, you must heal, you must clear out the shadows, clear out the programming, clear out the trauma from childhood, inherited from your ancestors, carried forth from past lives, which are parallel lives. You must clear out vows from past lives, vows to poverty, or vows of poverty, vows of secrecy, vows that have kept you disempowered. We must clear these out. They need to be cleared out so quantum space is made for the light of your higher self to come in. That's the responsibility, everyone. That's inner purification, because as you purify, you create quantum space for the purity of your higher self to come in. You bring light into the world, and that's what dissolves the darkness. You, my friend, you are the solution, the solution. It's not through fighting. Do you see how fighting is so far removed from what I am saying? It's not about fighting. It's about inner transformation. It's about bringing in the light. We birth the golden age. We birth the age of light by being that light, by bringing in the light through our temple bodies. Through our temple bodies, by doing the work. So when you hear the word fight from whoever you're listening to, question it. Because that's really not what these times are about. It's not a fight. We are meant to win, and thank God we are not meant to win it. Because if we won it, we would just simply recreate another version of what we had. And that's not what this time is about. We are destined to go in the golden age. We are not destined to fight for a reality whose time has come, who's destined to collapse and end. What we really long for is the light of our higher self. This is what we long for more than anything, is divine union. More than anything else is what we long for, is divine union. And the very thing that is going to transform this mess is you. You. Your light, your Holy Spirit, the purity of who you are, that is what is going to transform this mess. Through divine union, inner union with who you are, anchored in the holy temple of your body, expressed, animated out into the world, being a beacon of light for others. That is how we birth the golden age. That is how we transform this mess. That is how we end the story of suffering. We do it through us, not through fighting. Let us now wake up to this. Let us wake up to this. It is time to wake up from this dream of fighting. And let us wake up to the truth of who we are. If you want support with this, it's why I lead online healing and activation ceremonies. I transmit online to groups pretty much every weekend archangelic frequencies like dark emerald ray or diamond light. I work with ascended masters like Kuan Yin and Mother Mary and Isis. I work with the archangels like Archangel Michael and Raphael. I work with spirit animals like snake and octopus and whale. I work with all sorts of frequencies. I now have around 50 different ceremonies on my website you're welcome to look at. I will put a link in the description so you can see what my upcoming ceremonies are. But I have come here to accelerate this transformation by broadcasting these higher frequencies and supporting people's own inner purification and anchoring of their higher self into their temple bodies. Please check out the link in the description. Otherwise, thank you for listening and watching. Please share, like, subscribe, comment, click notifications, all that jazz. Thank you so much for listening and watching.